Welcome to this webinar, Literacy on the Loose, Supports for Families at Home. So in this world with the shutdown due to COVID-19, families are at home together, working, learning and managing as best they can in very difficult circumstances. For UNESCO World Book and Copyright Day on the 23rd of April, we are celebrating and highlighting the opportunities in the everyday lives of families for parents to support young children learning to read and write. This idea emerged out of the Irish Research Council funded project on family digital literacy, which I lead along with my colleague Colin Ross and in partnership with NALA, the National Adult Literacy Agency. This work is a collaborative effort from colleagues in the School of Education in Trinity College, myself, Colin Ross, Noirin Hayes and Jennifer Liston, colleagues in Marino Institute of Education, Jennifer O'Sullivan and ClaraMaria Fiorentini, and Mary Flanagan in Clare Family Learning, which is part of Limerick Clare ETB. So let's get started.
So why is it that we chose to do this? And it's essentially because always, whether there's a shutdown for COVID or not, the single biggest influence on a child's development is their parents. And this is a privilege, very definitely, but it's also quite a large source of stress. Right now, parents and families and children are at home with this shutdown, and that pressure and stress can be increased. Children aren't in school, parents are effectively homeschooling their children, and they're managing all of this with all of those additional pressures of life, care and work that are all made more difficult under COVID, and some people working under really, really difficult or living under very difficult circumstances. So schools are working with families, and in particular with most vulnerable families, to try and maintain that continuity of learning while the schools are closed. But the onus is still falling on the parent to manage and direct what's happening at home and manage that learning at home. So as a parent of 3 primary school children, I know how stressful this can feel. I know that can lead to feelings of intense guilt, and we're worrying that we're not doing enough and that our children are going to be negatively impacted by this. At the same time, like other parents, I am feeling supported, but also a bit overwhelmed by the range of resources that are available online and around the place. And so even as an educator myself, I find that difficult to navigate. And so we both huge richness of resources available and, and struggling to make all the things work together. So even more concerning, though, at this time is that from those studies, those early studies that have been conducted in these first few weeks of the shutdown, there are definitely some families that are particularly at risk at the moment. Families who don't have easy access to devices or broadband, and digital poverty is limiting some families' capacities to access the range of resources available to them. And homeschool liaison officers and schools across the country are doing fantastic work to link in with those families, as they very certainly need support, but it's a very difficult for all involved to try and kind of support the families in most need. So these videos germinated as an idea with this group to see what we can do in our homes. So for parents at home with their children, what we can do, what we might actually already be doing to help our kids, in particular with their literacy skills. So we wanted to, I suppose, lighten the load a little bit for parents, and see what parents might do as part of their everyday and feel a sense of relief, I suppose, that even though they're not doing everything, we're not doing everything that we might be doing in school, we are doing what we can. So I suppose just to say a little bit of, these videos are focused on literacy. So the understanding of literacy here, and I suppose the definitions used in our education system and so on, is really broad. There's a wide range of things that come in under that. and essentially it relates to most of our, our activities relating to language. So that capacity to read, to understand, to critically appreciate different kinds of communication, and in that we have spoken language, printed text, broadcast media, and so on, digital media also. Crucial in here is that these skills are so valuable for individuals to, in their life, in terms of living a satisfying and rewarding life, and participating fully in society. So they're really valuable skills. Really, they're essential, essentially, in the world that we're living. And as part of that, also technology is in there. We are accessing digital media, and oftentimes our literacy is mediated by technology. So we're accessing things through our phones and tablets and devices, as well as more traditional media in terms of kind of more paper-based media. Also very important in here is the idea of critical literacy. So not to forget that it's not about just consuming and producing text or other media, but it's about evaluating that, looking at sources and considering what is good, and what's a good source, and so on. So that's very important as part of these skills. When it comes to literacy learning, this lovely graphic from NEPS from 2016, which captures, I suppose, a balanced approach to literacy development, certainly in the early years. And it's a very beautiful graphic, but it certainly illustrates the range of elements coming together to support literacy development for our young people. So, it's grounded in key elements at home around oral language and access to books and so on. It includes many dimensions, from the sound system of language, that phonological awareness, knowing how sounds make up words, and so on, mapping that onto the written system, so with phonics and spelling and all of that, and to the processes of reading and writing, with fluency and with comprehension, and most importantly, for meaning. So these videos here, they don't claim to cover all of these aspects of a balanced literacy framework, but they're just to remind parents, I suppose, of the range of areas that are all valuable in helping our children to learn to read and write. So from here, I'm going to move to our first video. So let me just stop sharing this screen, and I will. So this is a short video that I was involved in putting together, and it's about literacy on the phone. And that my goal with this, I suppose, we have a lot of us have phones around the place, and we're wondering what our children might be doing that's beneficial on a phone to support their learning. So let me share this video with you now.
The letters are in the same places there as on the computer.
Yeah.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Oh.
Two, yeah. Help?
Yeah, help. Yeah, no, but help me.
Poor Auntie Del will wonder what's going on. Help my?
Help me.
Well, it should be help me with an E.
Oh.
See, isn't it correct? That's good.
Help me.
Don't send that or she'll get a fright.
No, I'm gonna go space. Going to.
It's cooler using a predictive text. Million is O
O N
Gosh, there's a lot of things. Air. How do you spell air, like the air you breathe?
What is that?
Oh, I see. Do you see something there that's going to help?
Million on.
What's the second one?
Millionaire shorted
Short.
bread.
Yeah. Does that sound like what you're making? So now go down and get the ingredients. Okay, Sam, what do you need for this?
Butter.
Where is that?
Flour. Vanilla spoon. Vanilla quarter spoon.
Why have you decided to read from right to left?
Butter.
Yeah.
No. Rutub.
So the main literacy skills you can see going on in that little short video are reading and writing strategies. You can see Sam sounding things out, even sounding them out backwards. And I think the predictive text activity is particularly interesting because it shows kind of how those skills start to come together with sounding out words, the letters coming together to form words, but also the morphemes, those other little pieces like the ing to make for words coming together. And you can see how that speeds up with age from the 7-year-old to the 9-year-old. And I suppose the key takeaway there from this video for parents is that phones are an integral part of our communication systems today, and texting is a huge part of that, and the other literacy activities on the phone. I suppose there's so many opportunities on there for children to try out their new reading and writing skills and to try them out in a really meaningful way where they're actually getting the value for those skills and using them productively. So we're going to move on from this to our second video, which is the work of Noirin Hayes. So Noirin Hayes is here with us in the School of Education in Trinity. So Noirin, what did you hope to achieve with this video?
Hi. The interest that I had was in the area of oral development with very young children. And so the video that I was developing was really just a vignette that was captured in an everyday moment when the two children, both under 4, were coming to the end of a day at home when they had been playing. You'll see from the context that there had been a lot of creative activity. But what I was wanting to highlight by this particular informal video was the powerful opportunities that exist in ordinary events that happen. And so you'll be looking out for the oral language play in the younger child, the value of repetition, the way in which the older girl kind of participates a little bit and guides a little bit and imitates. And then the younger boy imitates again. So basically, what I want to highlight is the ordinariness of emerging literacy skills. It happens in the midst of the everyday and the powerful opportunities that exist. So maybe if you have a look at the video and we can talk just afterwards about one or two of the key messages from it.
Great. So I'll put that on now.
Relationships are the central context within which children learn. It's in these early years that they understand that they are loved, what they are capable of, and what they can make meaning of. In the messiness and ordinariness of life, they acquire the dispositions, the habits, and the vocabulary that are the basis of later storytelling, reading, and writing. The group cuddles around shared reading that happen on the couch with a book, a parent, and a big sister are the secure spaces where the young child begins to become the literate child. Adults are the guide. Sisters can be the support. Repetition and familiarity are central. Reading the same book, asking the same questions, providing repeated sounds, making the same gestures, and doing it all again and again and again, all help to make these few minutes of shared reading a critical and effective learning experience. They are the first steps of the literacy journey.
Noirin, maybe I can ask you about what are the key aspects of literacy for you in this video, lovely video.
But I think the emphasis on the relationships there, the closeness is really important. That social interaction for children is the context within which literacy skills develop, and the skills that you would see happening there are the importance of repetition for the younger child in particular, the opportunity to play with words, to pick up on the pacing of conversation, the pacing of reading a book, turning a page, the linking of sound with a picture. That was a picture book. There was a repetition of pointing to a ball, pointing to a car, pointing to a crocodile, and repeating that, saying the sounds of the word, the sounds that the car might make or that the crocodile might make. All of that linkage gives the rhythm and the rhyme of conversation, and the rhythm of the rhyme and the rhyme of reading. And it also locates reading in a socially comfortable context. I think it illustrates a point you made at the beginning about the important and key role that parents have in talking to and reading to even the very youngest children who don't either talk or read, but who will come to it.
Yeah, lovely. And so lots for parents there. Is there one thing that you would say for parents? What would be your key message for them? I suppose so much in there.
Well, I think the key message is that language is where language comes from, and it is the basis of literacy. And so every opportunity you have to chat to the child and include the child is a literacy moment.
Great. Thanks, Noirin. That's lovely. So next we're going to be going to Clara and ClaraMaria Fiorentini and Jennifer O'Sullivan. So your work is around literacy in the kitchen. So maybe tell me a bit. And Jen, it was certainly your great idea to think about about breaking out the literacy into the household environment. So maybe you tell us a little bit about what you wanted to achieve with it.
Clara, you're going to lead this one?
Cool.
So I suppose the idea was that it was just showing informal ways that we can show parents that there are so many ways to explore, engage and practice our emergent literacy skills outside of the classroom, outside of texts and copies. And literacy is everywhere. It's all throughout the home, and it's even in the kitchen. And I suppose we know everybody's a little bit bombarded with information at the moment, parents and teachers, and we just wanted to share some little ideas. So we created some tip cards that we could, maybe stick on the fridge or have somewhere in the kitchen where you could have a glance and look out for those spontaneous little opportunities to practice literacy in the kitchen and keeping it fun and relaxed, and as Noirin said, in those little everyday moments.
Great, lovely. And so let's go to the video now. I'll share it.
This presentation contains some activities, tips and ideas to try at home to support your child's emergent literacy development in what's usually one of the most popular rooms in any home, the kitchen. There are so many ways to work on literacy skills in the kitchen, especially when we're cooking. We created some literacy tip cards for parents to point out some of the many informal literacy opportunities that arise in the kitchen. Jennifer and Mia explore some lovely literacy learning with their ingredients before baking.
So very important to begin with a little bit of sound work with the child before you look at letters. Can you find one of our ingredients that begin with the sound?
Flour.
Very good. Can you find an ingredient that ends with a g sound?
The egg.
The egg. So Mia, can you find an ingredient that has two syllables?
Orange.
So let's clap it out. Orange. Or can you tell me how many syllables the sugar has?
2 syllables.
Let's clap it. Sugar. Okay, now let's move on to a little bit of print. And what Mia's going to do now is she's ingredients that begin with a vowel.
Egg.
Very good.
Oil.
Any more?
And orange.
While still keeping everything nice and informal, there are many ways to take the kitchen literacy learning even further, creating recipes, exploring packaging, chats at meal times, and working on our alphabetic knowledge, as Mia demonstrates with her ingredients.
Baking powder, egg, flour, milk, oil, orange, and sugar.
Songs, rhymes and poems have a huge part to play in developing many key literacy skills. We've included some lovely kitchen and food themed rhymes, songs and poems to tickle those tongue muscles and practice things like our pronunciation, memory work and rhyming. Many wonderful picture books fall under the kitchen or cooking themes. It's always nice to have several books that belong to a particular theme. This helps your child to make connections to other stories, reinforce understanding, and build their vocabularies. Don't forget the traditional tales. Many of these can tie into our cooking or lead to other creative cooking-related fun. Are wonderful, especially if your child is showing an interest in learning more about a topic or a theme. Non-fiction texts can help develop vocabulary, teach us facts, and help us learn more about the world we live in. Sharing a fact is always a great way of getting everyone talking. Finding ways to get your child talking and using their language is so important. Oral language is the foundation for our reading and writing skills. The "if it's not" challenge is a lovely way to get your child thinking creatively, drawing and explaining their idea.
If it's not an egg, well, what is it? And what they do is they complete a drawing and you talk it through with them as they're doing it. So Mia's going to now take the picture, you can turn it any way you like, and she's going to create.
Yeah, I did a turtle from the egg shape because it just kind of looked like its shell to me.
An area of confusion sometimes with letter knowledge can be the actual letter sounds. If your child is working on phonics or you're unsure about how best to approach letter sounds, you can access our Sounds Like Phonics program for free at the moment. You'll find a useful section where the correct mouth formation, letter sound, and a corresponding item appears for each letter of the alphabet.
Slime.
So thanks, guys. So much useful stuff in there. Fantastic. I even had my favorite book, The Tiger Who Came to Tea. I love that one. So maybe if you make sure you're not on mute there, and if you can tell us a little bit about the literacy aspects covered in there, such a wide range.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Anne, it is a very wide range. So it is supposed to be designed as a menu that parents can dip in and out of some of the suggestions there. Lots of literacy skills are covered there. So obviously oral language. If you're going to be creating a recipe with children, you're going to be doing lots of discussion with them, lots of vocabulary learning around the language of procedural text. So looking at chopping, mixing, stirring, all that really nice, rich language children need to hear. Lots of opportunities for reading. As Noirin said, we want children to know that reading is a social and enjoyable act. So reading recipes and shared reading of recipes and packaging with parents is really, really nice activity to get involved in. Obviously, we're looking at all our phonological awareness that you mentioned earlier, Anne, and phonics with our young emergent readers, making sure they can play with the sounds of their language before we impose print upon them as well. Lots of opportunities for writing, very simple mark making with young children. You know, after you've finished your recipe, can they draw the recipe, or, you know, put a few squiggles even on a page to represent the stages of the recipe that you created together? some simple little letter formation that children can play. And again, young children are really curious about writing and reading, so allowing them the opportunity to really experiment with squiggles and drawings is really nice activity to do together as well. There's a little bit of opportunity for digital literacy. Like Anne, we saw your son there looking up his millionaire shortbread squares. So getting children to search for recipes online and introducing them to how to search for using Google or something similar, a search engine, and look at how do I search for recipes online. And then there's obviously that little bit of critical or creative thinking at the end with the if it's not challenge as well. So lots and lots of opportunities to develop your child's literacy skills in hopefully a very fun, comfortable manner that doesn't involve a lot of stress or pressure. I suppose most importantly though, what we want these opportunities to do is to give children to see literacy in action. So they're able to apply maybe some older children, what they've learned in school, and able to see how it's relevant to real life. And that's what we really want to try and get across, I suppose, in these little activities here.
Lovely.
Okay, so Clara, so what would be your main takeaway for parents from this?
I suppose just to keep it fun and keep it informal, and knowing that literacy can be relaxed, and it's like what Noirin says, it's happening in all those everyday moments, and even just talking about what you're doing, what you're using, because oral language is the foundation for our reading and writing skills. And the more we talk and the more we encourage our children to talk, the more they're going to be, I suppose, interested in using their language then for reading and writing.
That's great. Thanks a million, Clara. And we're going to go on to Mary Flanagan from Limerick and Clare ETB. Thanks.
Literacy on the TV is ways of helping children extend their learning through opportunities on the TV, watching words, letters, numbers, feelings, and what's new. And so there's lots of ideas, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello, my name is Mary Flanagan, and I work with Limerick and Clare Education and Training Board. This video is about literacy on the television. Parents are busy people and short on time these days. And when you get a chance, do sit down and watch TV together with your child, as children learn through interaction with others. We can watch TV with new learning eyes. Look for your child's number eyes. Get them to point out key numbers on doors, roads, or prices. Watch out for your child's letters eyes. Get them to show you what words and letters, signs, labels they are familiar with. And there are lots of letters on walls, shops, lorries, even clothes. Look out for your child's feelings eyes. Go over what happened today on TV. Was it sad, happy, cross, jealous? Lots of new emotional words can be brought in and then used as a family. What about the critical eyes? Remember to tell your child this is acting, not the real world. Would you like this to happen in real life? Look and chat about advertisements. These want to sell you things. And get your child to check, is it real, what they are showing, or is it make-believe? What's new eyes? Go over anything new your child found today. TV is wonderful for adding new vocabulary, and then you can bring these words into the family. National broadcasters like RTE and BBC are good. They offer programs showing our culture and real lives with a good balance for all children. They don't have a sales pitch. TV for children should show skills and ideas children will find useful and need to learn. If you aren't able to watch together just now, choose a program and ask your child to pick out, for example, a few new words in it, and when it's over, turn it off and have a chat about what was new. Maybe time the program before lunch so you can have a chat about it over food and find out what was the best bit. Extending the learning from TV by providing props, hang a towel over 2 chairs creates the cave or the ship or a house that was on the TV. Your child can have lots of fun imagining how the story continues at home. Finally, watch a show, chat about it, then build, draw or act it out. TV is more fun if you watch it together. There is so much to learn. Enjoy it.
So Mary, yeah, what would be the main kind of areas of literacy, I suppose, that are covered in the video? Oh, you've gone quiet. I don't know why that is. Are you on mute?
Is that better again?
Yeah,
Oh,
better
I
again.
hit it by accident.
No problem. Yeah. So yeah, what are the main areas of literacy that kind of are covered in the ideas that you put together here?
So in the video you can see literacy crosses a lot of different areas. There's listening, speaking, reading, writing, numbers, and we're using the technology of the television. So the children can extend all those things that they've learned perhaps at preschool and school, and look at new things that they might say, oh, what's that, with their parent. If the parent isn't there, they may be able to ask the parent later over a meal.
Lovely. And what would you say would be your one kind of key point for parents to remember coming from this, when they're talking about kind of supporting their children and using the television with that?
I think one of the most important things is to be relaxed, having a cuddle, and it makes learning very easy for parents. The other little message would be that parents are their children's first teachers and that the home is a very important learning place. So parents have been teaching their children to speak, to dress, to talk all the time since they were born. So just keep doing what they're doing because they're doing a very good job.
Okay, so Colm, you put together the video on literacy with 2 languages. Do you want to talk us through what you wanted to achieve with that?
Yeah, we decided to do it with the kids because the kids are the natural speakers in the house here, bilingual speakers. So to empower them and to see from their perspective, what tips they would give to parents in relation to creating a literate environment, a natural literate environment in 2 languages. And the video shows some of the ideas from the kids. It's done in a kind of interview format where the kids create some cards and then they give out some tips through the cards.
Great, so let's have a watch. Okay.
These are the biggest advantages of being bilingual. I can speak 2 languages, translate, read and write 2 languages, can understand the culture and traditions better, live and go to school in different countries, and communicate better with family members, make fun of my dad in a language he doesn't understand well. Tips for parents with bilingual kids. Use 1 language at a time. Make it interesting, please. Also make it fun. Active learning, you can use sport, cooking, fixing stuff, and gardening. Resources, you might have books, TV, music, games, and dance. Get Granda and Granny involved with FaceTime, Skype, email, and telephone. The most important is be proud of both languages. Thank you.
Okay, so so that was lovely. Thanks, Colm. And can you maybe talk us through what are the main aspects of literacy that are covered in the tips from the two kids there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects of literacy, the reading, writing, communication, I think is the key. And to create that literate environment that's natural, you know, for a bilingual family or a family where one parent is fluent in one language and another parent in another language, for example. And I think that this is not so easy to set up sometimes. There needs to be an understanding of the importance of both languages, that both languages are you know, that the parents and the kids and the family in general are proud of both languages and see the advantages that the children can have by being bilingual. The creation of the environment, I think the kids mentioned that for them is to speak in one language at a time, not to mix languages and not to be confusing in the way that the language is spoken in the house, and to create situations, whether it's actively where the kids are involved with learning around the house with the parents in the garden, you know, in the house with cooking, with sport, that the language can be used in a natural manner.
Great. And what's the key point you think for parents coming from your video?
I think the key point is that the parents see the advantage. I think there are a lot of studies that indicate that some parents might think that the language in the country that they're living in is the most important language, and then that language is overemphasized, and the children with a second language from the country where one of the parents is originally from, or a minority language like Irish, for example, do that, it becomes a kind of patronizing approach to a language, that it's only used in an unrealistic manner, you know, and that there needs to be both languages, but also the idea that a parent is a great resource, that a parent who's fluent in a language is regardless of their education level, is a real resource in the house, where children can pick up a language in a very natural way, and this is something that would benefit their communication with their greater family abroad, their understanding of culture, their understanding, you know, of the traditions of the country where one of the parents come from. The introduction of possibilities for the children going forward.
Okay, great. Thanks a million, Colm.
Move on to Jennifer Liston. So Jennifer Liston is here with us in the School of Education.
Okay, so I suppose my background does come into this video a little, but more so my daughter attends an outdoor-based school, so called Crean Aquila in Croom, County Limerick. And as part of her homeschool plan this week, they have a fabulous story written by a local lady, Nora Carrick, called the Knockfearna Fairies. And this video just captures me telling the story to my two children and a number of dogs who were around us also. So I hope you enjoyed the story.
Okay, lovely, Jen, and we'll go to the video here. Yeah. So.
In your preschool, the teachers tell a lovely story that Nora Carrick wrote about fairies that live in Knockfearna Hill. Do you see Knockfearna? Yeah? Knockfearna used to be a volcano. Yeah. Do you know what a volcano is?
Fire.
Fire?
We go to Knockfearna.
We'll go there someday.
It's a lava.
Lava comes out of the volcano? Yeah, but this is an extinct volcano. It's fast asleep, all right? So it doesn't work anymore. So the fairies used to live on the top of Knockfearna. Yeah, exactly. That's what it's like. Yeah. So the fairies live on the top of Knockfearna, okay? And there was 2 families, and they were cousins. And one day the king of the fairies came to visit the fairies in Knockfearna, and he said, "Oh, one of ye families are going to have to go to a place called Tory Hill." Do we know where Tory Hill is? So if that's Knockfearna, where's Tory Hill?
There.
Yeah, good girl. So that's Tory Hill. The fairies were living over in Tory Hill, doing what the fairy king wanted them to do, minding all nature and all the animals. But they started to get lonely. They were missing their cousins, who were still living on Knockfearna.
So they met again.
So what they did was they called the king of the fairies and they asked him, could they go visit, because it was awful they couldn't see their cousins, wasn't it, Matt? And they wanted to play. So
You got the virus.
well, it's like the virus, that they couldn't go play with their cousins. But the king of the fairy had some magic, and he said, when a rainbow comes out, what do we need for a rainbow to come out into the sky? Rain, good girl, and sun, good girl. And when the rainbow comes out, the fairies, do you know what they do, guys? Do you know what they do, Jess? They hop onto the rainbow, and they come all the way over on the rainbow. It's like a road, a magic road, but every time it rains and the sun comes out and the rainbows come out, they get to go and play with their cousins.
Lovely video there, Jen, and I'm jealous of what you have in your 2-kilometer radius. So maybe you tell us a little bit about the aspects of literacy, and I know you know the aspects maybe of geographic literacy also that are in that video.
Yeah, I suppose when you mention you're jealous of the geography that's around me, I just maybe like to say that geography is all around us, and I suppose whether it's a rural or urban setting that you're living in and is within your 2 kilometers, do try to see the opportunities. So for example, if it's how the local housing has developed in your area, or factories, or whether it's a lake, there's stories about all these places that link with geography that can be told to children. And I suppose for me as a geography teacher, I'm very aware that understanding local geography and understanding literature around local geography, like the terms we introduced to that story, volcano, mountain, lake, rainbow, once children can connect with those terms in a local way, they tend to understand global geography much more easily. So that would be kind of my first key aspect I'd like to mention. But secondly, and it's something that was mentioned earlier today, that relationships are key to supporting children with their literacy. And for me, that walk we do daily is my greatest opportunity for connectedness and learning and a bit of calm with my children. So that's my opportunity, I suppose, to introduce new words. And this video just kind of shows me using that opportunity.
Yeah, it's lovely, and it has so in just such a lovely learning this academic language that they then have access to, and I suppose maybe if you have a key point.
Yes, and I just, maybe it's a very simple one, but today is about looking at literature, but let's not forget our oral folklore and our local oral folklore. And this might be an opportunity for people to pick up the phone and talk to elderly people about local stories that they have, and to then tell our children those stories.
Yeah, lovely thought. Thanks, Jennifer. So we're just moving on to the last video, and that's again one that I was responsible for, and it's about this one is about you. I'll just unpin you, Jennifer, as your I have you on the main screen here from my point of view. Okay, so I'm just going to share the screen here for this video, and it's about, so we probably find ourselves, you know, what I wanted to achieve, I suppose, with this video around literacy on devices is just a little bit to address that fear that parents have about an online space being a place of risk, and just to emphasize, I suppose, that there's lots of learning opportunities in there. And, you know, also at the moment when children, they may be on devices more than you might, you know, than they might normally be, you know, plenty at the time when they would be in school and so on. And so while we might want to keep the screen time down, there's so much in that time that's useful for children, lots of educational opportunities, and most of them, if not all of them, mediated by literacy. So, you know, following instructions and so on, that's all practicing their literacy skills. So I'll put on this, actually, I'm just
I'm learning the upper keys because I learned the lower keys like yesterday.
Cool. So it's touch typing. Are you finding it hard?
Not really.
So which keys have you got?
I got in J, I got F, I got K, I got A, I got S, I got A, I got L, I got dot.
Cool. And which letters are you learning today?
I'm learning E or U.
E or U. Cool. So what words up there are you typing?
Ho.
There's a magic E one. What's that one?
Life.
Very good.
Ho.
That's not her. There's an E on the end, so it's here. Yeah.
Tap the pairs.
Cheeker Sam, what's that?
Japanese. Tap the pairs. Do you drink water?
Wait, agua, yeah. Very good.
Agua's water.
sharing there. Yeah, so just I suppose you know what literacy skills are kind of involved in the video there. So I was really impressed actually at the range of letter and sound work that my son was doing there. In particular, that phonological awareness, so him working through the syllables of Japanese. So what happened was I left my son with Duolingo for Irish, and he was doing fine. I came back and he was doing Duolingo for Japanese, and I was thinking, oh, you know, he does, what would he be doing Japanese for? And then I looked at what he was doing, and he was practicing his syllables. So really nice kind of phonological work there, and of course learning other skills as well as he is developing his literacy skills. So the Spanish and the Japanese were useful, but also the touch typing and so on. So there's so much opportunity in there. And I suppose my main point here for parents is that there are risks associated with being online and being on devices, very definitely, and I wouldn't underplay them at all. And certainly the advice would be, you know, think about it the same way as you would thinking outside. Just keep an eye just keeping an eye on what's going on. But I suppose the other side of that is that there's loads of opportunities, and so if you manage the risk, then your child can avail of lots of opportunities. So just keeping an eye, and while at the same time offering those options. So that is that's that, guys.